Performance psychology. What is performance psychology? How can we develop an effective psychology for the performance that you want? What are results that matter to you that are measured? That's why when we try to set goals, we try to break it down to something we can measure so we can see if our behaviors and our strategies and the things that we're doing are effective or ineffective, and then we can adjust from there. But what dictates the quality of our behaviors or the quality of that strategy? It's our psychology, it's our internal world. So how do we develop the most effective psychology to maximize those behaviors in order to get the performance that we want? And I use the term effective very deliberately because I want to get away from positive and negative. Positive and negative thoughts are useful in certain situations, but when we're talking about performance, we want to find the most effective one. Because think about it, are there positive thoughts that could be extremely ineffective for my performance? Are there positive thoughts that could get in the way of my jump shot, get in the way of me throwing strikes, get in the way of me getting sales, get in the way of performing at the level that I need to? Absolutely. This isn't butterflies and rainbows are the key to everything. No, not necessarily. And at the same time, are there negative thoughts that are extremely effective for a high performance? So for example, if I'm lifting weights or running a mile or doing some really difficult work, I mean, how many of you, if anybody out there beat yourself up while you're lifting weights, you talk trash to yourself? Yeah, and if that's effective, if that mobilizes energy for you to push a little harder, hey, we're all for it. So that's what we're after, is we're finding the most effective psychology for your performance. So here's the breakdown right here. Way over here we have our performance. So how well or how poorly you have performed in the past is always a result of these three things. So here's my performance right here, whether it's great, whether it's bad, whether it's kind of okay. It's always a result of my physical state. And we know this is true, right? This is why we work out. This is why we practice. This is why we train. This is why we stay on top of our nutrition, we stay hydrated, we get enough rest, right? We cannot outperform our physical body. We can outperform what we've trained our body to do, okay? But if we dive a little deeper here to our emotional state directly impacts our physical state because depending on whatever emotion we're experiencing, it releases different hormones in the body, different chemicals, causes our heart rate to speed up, to slow down, mobilizes different resources, oxygen consumption, those types of things. The emotions actually cause my muscles to go strong or to go weak. So we need to be very careful about the emotional state that we're in because it absolutely directly impacts our physical state. And the thing that impacts our emotional state the most is our thoughts, what we're thinking. It's not the problem. The problem is never the problem. It's our attitude towards the problem. So whatever's going on around us, that doesn't matter. It's how we communicate it to ourselves that's going to determine our emotional state, which will impact my physical state, which will absolutely directly impact my performance behaviors. So, a quick example of what this looks like. So a few years ago, I went to a big Tony Robbins seminar, big fan of Tony Robbins, and the very first day of his UPW, that's the Unleash the Power Within seminar. So the very first day, the Thursday, the very first day that you're there, you do the fire walk. You walk across hot coals. So they burn a fire all day. They take the coals from the fire and they shovel them down on a piece of grass in the parking lot. There's 6,000 people around you. It creates quite an atmosphere. And they put you in front of the fires, and there's somebody right there, making sure you're ready, looking you in the eye. And they give you lots of great tools, lots of awesome things to get you going. But the main strategy that they give you is while you're walking across, with each step, you tell yourself, cool moss. Like that soft spongy grass that grows on the sides of trees, right? It'd be very comfortable to walk on. So you get that in your head, you get that in your emotional state, then it gets in your physical state and allows you to walk across these hot coals. Okay, so here's what it looks like, right? You get there, you get all fired up, you get all jacked up, and they're looking you in the eye, make sure you go through your big routine, and you say yes a bunch of times, and then you get fired up, and they say go, and you go, cool moss, cool moss, cool moss, cool moss, cool moss. And then you get to the end. And then you celebrate with the other people on the other side. It's outstanding. So, the question is, the $1 million question that I love to ask everybody. Am I lying to myself? What do you think? Am I lying to myself? Or am I developing the most effective psychology that's going to give me the performance that I want? So for example, what's the performance that I want? Well, I want to walk across these hot coals so I can brag about it later, right? Okay, so how does my physical state, how does my physical body have to feel in order for me to do that? Whew, man, well, I know I gotta be in control of my physical state. I gotta be calm enough for me to take that first step. I have to be in control of my body, of my muscles, right? If I get too freaked out, well, then the back of my brain's gonna take over and I'm gonna freeze, right? Or I'm gonna shake, or that energy inside my body will be counterintuitive. It'll be ineffective for me walking across. So in order for me to be calm enough to be in charge of my physical state to where I'm relaxed and calm and smooth, well, the emotional state I need to experience is definitely not fear and anxiety and nervousness, right? So what can I tell myself to lower my emotional state, lower my anxiety, get me into an emotional state that will allow me to take control of my body, to do the movements necessary to get the performance that I want? Well, of course, it's cool moss. If I'm thinking cool moss, that'll calm me down. Even if I'm not totally calm and totally confident, because I was still a little bit nervous, it still lowered my nervousness, lowered my anxiety enough to where I could take action and I could go for it, right? And that's the point. How can we find the most effective psychology for your performance, right? And you can backwards plan this, okay? So what is the performance that I want? What are the behaviors that I need to put in, and how can I maximize those behaviors? Right? Whether it's scoring more points in a game, throwing more strikes, hitting more home runs, making more sales, getting your child to bed at night. What is that performance that I need to accomplish? Okay, so how does my physical body need to feel? Right? Jot all those down. Right? What emotional states are going to allow my physical state to do that? Because there are certain emotions that make my muscles go strong or weak. If I want to quit and I want to give up and I want to fall out of a run, well, how do I have to feel emotionally? Well, I have to feel drained. I have to feel, sad and disappointed and probably lonely and have to go down like this, and that drains energy out of my physical state. So that's not necessarily effective for what I'm trying to do. So I got to plug in the right thoughts here in order to get me there. And that's what we need to do. We need to customize the most effective psychology that's going to allow you to perform those behaviors that will get you those results. So what are the performance behaviors that you need to accomplish in order to accomplish your goals during the week? And then how can you break down the psychology for it? Because this is nothing but a recipe, right? This is just a plug and play recipe of your performance level, because guess what? Your performance level right now is already a result of these three things. So be aware of, are you maximizing these three things before you throw out a strategy, or before you throw out a behavior, or before you make a physical adjustment, right? Make sure these three things are consistent, because you cannot have a consistent performance if you're not giving your physical body the same amount of energy, the same amount of resources, because you're not experiencing the same emotional state every single time you go out there, because you're not thinking the same things, right? So how can you have a consistent performance if you're not controlled and consistent inside? Because everything starts from the inside. And if you're having a little bit of trouble with this, if you want a customized plan, or you want somebody just to help you walk through it with you, reach out to me. Good luck and go get them.